And we're back. And before the break, I asked you guys as a test to kind of create an object that's a child object of my main cube object that I have in the middle, right? So let's take a look at that. In my scripts, in my core folder, I have a game.ts file, as we normally do, and a bunch of these references, by the way. We'll get rid of that eventually. But I have my cube object. Here it is, a cube mesh and a plane mesh and a sphere mesh. I've named them, but they're actually not used. All I use is a cube mesh. And if I go down here, I see that there's a new plane, which I use the game object to create, right? Except I don't do that with the cube. The cube is actually done the old way, right? Let's rewrite it. Let's rewrite. First of all, I want to rewrite this cube. So I want to use my object class that I created, right? So in order for me to do this, to make it more interesting, just instead of you guys watching, I want you guys to do with me. I'm going to kick off concept board, and some of you may have seen it, some of you may have not, but I'm going to kick off this concept board here. I'm going to add a new board, right? Which I'm going to call COMP392. Give me a second, I'll do that. So let's name the board COMP392. Rename. What concept board does is it allows me to draw stuff. So I'm going to draw, before I share it with you, I'm going to draw a sticky note that I'm going to put on the middle of my board here, which I can do stuff like, just type in COMP392. Now this is anonymous, right? This little board. And I'm going to share it. By the way, I can align everything the way I like, right? So I want to kind of line it centered. There's my center, COMP392, right? And I can change the font size. If you watch here for a second, I can change the font size to whatever font I want. There's my COMP392. There's my little sticky board, right? And I want to share this thing right here. If I click share, right? And again, it tells me I can share it with participants, right? As an example, or I can share it across. Instead of sharing, I can share it with. I can tweet it, right? So here's my my board. My board is actually this up here. If you actually go to this thing here, I can tweet it. If you guys follow me on Twitter, right? I can do it there too. Normally, in the past, we were able to share just like that. Let's see if there's another way to share. I'll just tweet it for you guys here. So go here, copy, and I'll go to Twitter for a second. Right? For those people who like going to Twitter. I'm not really a big Twitter fan, but let's try this out. What's happening? Join me on concept board. I'll say concept board. We'll do the address. There's our tweet, right? And you can find me at @Siliopoulos. So and my last name on Twitter, right? So if you go to @Siliopoulos, right? If you want to find me, you can join me. That's my Twitter handle, @Siliopoulos. And that you can see that this is the last thing I said. So join me on the concept board. By the way, every time I do a broadcast, I also put the YouTube link on here on Twitter. So you guys can always find the latest YouTube link, the one that I'm actually doing, right? So @Siliopoulos, right? I know people are laughing at me. They're like, Twitter? Are you kidding me? Right? It's there. It's there. I try and use multiple social media sources so that you guys can find me. All right, so if you join me on Twitter, you'll start here. I got one person that joined, and it's anonymous, right? I can't tell who is going to do stuff. What I want you to do, here's the exercise. I want you to give me the code, right? I want you to give me this code. So here's my code right now for my cube material. I want you to change this so it looks like my plane, like right up here. Okay, so just change it so it looks like this. I want you to do that, and I want you to just as a thing, let's see who can do it first. And I want you to put it on a sticky on concept board. So here's, oh, come on. I want you to, people are drawing and everything. By the way, you can do all kinds of stuff with the concept board, right? You can move this around, and I can even delete someone. Oh, don't do that. You can do all kinds of stuff with concept board, right? Like delete other people's stuff, right? There we go. So we can all work together on this if you like. So let's see if you guys can try this out. Let's go back to 100%. There we go. And I see some people are joined. Notice there's some people here that are joining up, right? And they just have simple initials. So try and put a sticky note. You'll see the concept board just like me, right? And you can put a sticky note or a comment if you want, right on the concept board with your code. Okay, so I get a little comment, right? Please don't erase other people's sticky notes or comments, right? Go up there and do your own. It's okay if you overlap mine. I don't care about COMP392. But as long as you put your own sticky note out there. I'm looking for code that's going to change my cube from the way that traditionally I wrote it to the right way. Right, so let's see if someone can come up with some stuff here. Okay, there it is. Let's just reformat it. Whoever put this up, reformat this thing. I don't know whoever Y is. Reformat this thing so that way I can see it on the concept board up here. So make it a little larger, a little wider, please. And then so I can copy paste. So I'm going to copy paste right from your stuff right into my code. Right? Let's see how it goes. So please don't give me a virus. Don't put some like virus code. Okay? You can do that. So I'm going to trust you. All right, cool. I'm going to go in here and zoom in. Okay, cool. So that's really it in a nutshell. I've got Yarrick. He's the guy that did it, right? And you can make it as anonymous as you like or not, right? And I want to kind of take this stuff now and copy it, right? So I want to copy this stuff. I can select it. I can select this whole object, right? Or I can take stuff that's in here like this, right? Well, that's the child cube, man. That's not what I'm looking for. That's not what I want. I want you to take this cube. This is neat. This is what I want, but this is eventually. But it's not what I need right now. What I need for now is the original cube object, which is this cube material. I want you to change this so it uses the game object that I have in here. I've created a game object. That's part of my tools. So I want you to take this format, and I want you to make a cube out of it first. That's the first thing. Let's try. I'm going to go back to concept board and see if someone else has done it. Because obviously, I think the instructions weren't understood. Right? So it's just, I got a heart. Look at that. You got people drawing hearts. It's almost Valentine's Day. Thanks, man. Whoever did it, thanks. Right? Let's see if I can. We'll clear away the heart. Thanks for the heart, but no. No thanks. Right? Here. Oh, only part of the heart disappeared. So this is good, but it's not what I'm looking for right now. I'm looking for you to convert my example here. So again, if you downloaded my project or if you see it up on GitHub, it's lines 75 to 84. I want you to convert that to use the game object style, which is up here. That same one I used from 64 to 73. I made a plane. I want you to just reformat this to use the game object. Okay, that's all I want you to do. Very simple. Let's see if you guys can follow instructions. And so far, no one can do it. Oh wait, there's a piece over there. I'm gonna zoom into that one. Let's see if this one's good. Yay! Almost perfect. I'm still missing. It's not adding this on. This one here, Angelina, right? It's not. Yeah, I know who it is. It's not adding it in, right? As an example, this is just declaring the object, right? Oh, Yarrick is adding something in now. Let's go ahead. It's adding it in. I need the add piece. There it is, scene add cube. I need that piece. Otherwise, the cube, even though it's a new game object, this is the game object that we created in our little library, right? It needs this new plane geometry and this new Lambert material, and we're actually importing it right here. So this is pretty good. So I'm going to take this, go to here, and take this piece, select. I'm going to take this, copy it. I'm going to go back to my code, right? And I'm just going to trust that, I know it's a bad thing, but I'm going to trust you, right? I'm going to go here and put this in. I'm going to reformat that in a second. Hold on. I'm going to get the scene add cube, which I already have in there, which is here. And I'm just going to reformat my code. So format my code. There we go. There. So 222. And now I want to test my code. If I press save, right? And if I go back to my it's finished, right? Because gulp. It's using gulp automation, right? So gulp is going to redo my code right away, right? So if I go back to wherever my stuff is, I might have another little thing somewhere. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. Let's see. Not there, that's for sure, right? No, not there either. Okay, so those are not the ones. Let's try just a new one. I'll just relaunch a new browser with localhost 8080. So I'll say localhost 8080, and I don't see a cube there anymore. What happened? Right? Take a look. That's what I get. I got a plane geometry. Well, hey, I'm listening to you guys. You guys are messing me up, right? I don't know. Whoever did it, like Angelina, you know, I don't know. Maybe you got to fix your code, right? Because I asked you for one thing, and you delivered something else. Remember, for those people who want to still join me, you can join me on Concept Board. If you look at my Twitter feed at Sliopoulos, you can always join me there and give me your thing. So can't be plane geometry, right? That's not right. I accepted it, but it's not the right thing. It's not. Is it this one? No, that's cube geometry. That's the other one with the thing there. Someone's typing it in. All right, someone's changing it up. Maybe Angelina, I'll let you change yours up if you want. If you guys go in there and just change it before I have issues, right? Anyways, the great thing about this little concept board is it's like drawing on the board over here, right? So imagine you're drawing on the board and drawing your answers. That's the old way of doing it, right? Just drawing concept boards, the same kind of idea, right? And some people are drawing like arrows and X's, you know, playing around. Some people are going to put some like anime picture on the background. Guaranteed, it's going to happen, right? There we go. Some more people are drawing. And let's see if Angelina fixed her stuff. Plane geometry, still plane geometry. Come on, what's going on over here? Oh, there it is. All right, there it is. New game object, cube geometry 222. Right, so I'm going to copy that whole thing in. So I'm going to just select this piece. I give you an option to do that, right? So copy this code. We're going to do this again, right? Because I want to take a look at this and go into my code and just replace this piece right here. And see if that does it. And I will reformat everything. And once I press save, I should see the direct output right here. Right, there's my cube. Oh man, how come it's so? How come it's so flat? How come it's there? Right? What? I don't understand. I'm just accepting it, right? I'm just, you know, whatever color, funky color you gave me to, I'm just taking it, right? So this is my position 0, 0, 0. I'm going to go back to concept board. Let's go back to the drawing board, right? This is a little test for you guys, right? And let's see if Angelina's going to fix it. Angelina, I'll give you one more chance, and then I'm going to move on, right? Move on to other people's solutions. There's a lot of other solutions on the board, right? Oh, I'm moving your stuff around. That's not what I meant to do, but that's okay. Right, so 222, you know, come on, Angelina. I'm depending on you to fix it, right? Yay, 1, 0. Okay, I'll change that. Let's go back in here, and let's see if that's changing anything. I'll just change this to 1, 0. If that's going to move it up 1, that's good. It's good practice for you guys. I saved it, and if I go back here, it's done, right? So there's my little thing. Okay, now, let's take this next piece. Someone else put that up on concept board, right? So I'm going to go back to concept board, and I saw that there was a solution somewhere. Let's just drag the board around. Add a cube, a child cube, to the scene, and you called it C cube, right? C cube. So I just went to the next one, okay, guys? And I want it to be 1/10 the size. 1/10. Is this 1/10? 0.5? No, that doesn't seem to be right. Let's go to the next one. Oh, someone wrote some or Laura Mipsum. Who did that? Batman. Batman, you bad man, right? Is this, hold on. Oh, you've made it? Sorry, just for you, since you did it on, you're pointing it up. Let's see if this is done properly. This is 0.2. Is that 1/10? Is that 1/10? I said 1/10. Good for you. But if it's 222, and if I change my cube geometry, there's two ways I can do scaling. What's the two ways I can do scaling? This. What's the other way? Is there a scale? Yes, right? So you can also scale for quick. What if you can't, what if it's a very complex shape or very big or a weird number, not 2? You want to scale it down to 1/10, use scale as opposed to changing the actual values. This is the actual shape change, right? That's fine. I'll do it though. I'll keep it. So I need this child cube geometry, which I don't have yet. So I'm going to have to add a variable. It's one thing that's missing over here, right? So let's do that. So I'm going to kind of go and select. But I'll keep this for now. And then it says cube add, blah, blah, blah. And this has got to be under the cube, yeah? Because I've already done the cube, and I'm going to add this. But, you know, this is cool and all, but I want you to use my object class. So can someone do this by using my object class, not this? Because this is all the same stuff, but I can use my object class. My object class is a little shorter than this. Can someone do that? Please. And I'll pull out and wait for that to be done. All right, so let's see if someone's going to do that really quickly. I'm just going to kind of pan around. I like the way you guys are thinking. I'll be honest, I do. I like it. A couple meshes here. Let's just using the mesh. Someone put this up there. Sorry, Batman, but I hate to delete stuff, but you know. I'm being lenient. I'm allowing everybody the same access. Okay, so this is cool. What I'd like you to try and do, guys, is and girls is try and make it a little wider so I can see everything like this. Right, so when you do your objects, do this. So here's a cube to the scene, and then what you want to do here is there's a cube material as an example, and I want a new Lambert material here, and we're going to do this cube add. Okay. You got it? Child cube, new object, here we go. 0.22, 0.2, oh, 0.2, and then 0.2. What's the difference? Someone's adding it in. Okay, I'll take this one. Here's my child cube. And we'll just open this one up so we can see it larger. There we go. Oops. There it is, right here, this one here. New game object, new child cube geometry, and Lambert material. New child cube geometry is not necessary. You wouldn't do this because there is no child cube geometry. Cube geometry is the type, right? You could have, but this is fine too. I'm just going to kill child geometry and make it so it's new cube geometry, right? So we'll just kind of copy this thing. It's almost the same. I'll take this piece and I'll go copy. I'll go back into my code and modify it a little bit just so we can move on, right? And put it right here. So paste. And there's some problems because we just haven't named the child cube yet. I'll just kind of put it here as a variable. So child cube. And it's of type, it's a type mesh, right? So that's the type we have to put in there. So it's the type, data type, right? Or object type. And then I'm going to add my child cube. That's just spelled wrong, right? So that's one thing I'll fix. And the other thing is this new game object, instead of game geometry, it's just going to be cube geometry. Child cube geometry of 0.2. We can make it so it's the same. Just keep the same. And instead of making it this color, let's make it another color. Just make it red. So make it 0, 0, 0, just to make it a little easier for us to see. And it's 5. It's moved away from the center at 5. Let's see if that's cool. Let's change the color. And we'll say a console command just to see that we're added our child cube. Right? Added child cube to the cube. To cube object. There we go. We'll save that, and when I save it, I can go back here. It's automatically transpiled, and there it is. Well, that's kind of weird. That's not what I expected. How come it's here, right? I added it here, right? And it's spinning, but it's not spinning. It's not what I expected, right? I expected my whole object to spin around my cube, right? How come it's like this? X-axis. Oh, okay. Let's go back to the drawing board here. Right. So you mean this is X and this is Y. Instead of putting it here, move it over here. All right. Let's try this out. So I'll put a 5. Put this as 0. A 1. Why 1? 0 is okay. You're saying, right? Okay. Well, I'm just saying, right? Let's try this out. 5, 0.2, and all this kind of stuff. And I've saved it already. Let's see what I get. So I'll go back here, and there it is. Yay. It's hard to see for you guys because it's so small. I'm only using this part of the screen. Remember, my little piece of code here only uses 640 by 480, right? It's on the corner, right? So that's not bad. So you can see that this kind of satisfies the whole planet and moon requirement, right? I didn't say that the moon has to rotate about itself. That would be a totally different thing to do, right? But this would satisfy, kind of a rotating body. So you see a body that's rotating around itself. So here's the question. Is the child object actually moving? I mean, like, have I applied any transformations to the child object directly? All right. Well, okay, I like that, but there's a couple of things I want to talk about. So just concepts-wise, right? So I have two geometries, two world spaces, if you will. I have the world geometry, the global geometry of the game world, or my 3D world here, which is where the cube is. This is the cube, this main cube. That's in the world space, or world geometry, global geometry, right? I have a local geometry because my cube is also a container. So my cube is the center of the world for my little child cube. My child cube, the center of its world is the cube, right? So therefore, it has an alternate geometry. It's not moving at all, right? Within its local space, the child cube object is remaining still. It's not moving, right? Yeah? You understand what I'm saying? It's just staying still. Let's make it a little bigger so you guys can see. I'm going to multiply this. I'm going to kind of make this bigger, this cube bigger so you can see it a lot more. And the child cube 2. Right? So let's make the child cube 1. So I'm going to go back. And we'll make the pattern so that the child cube is actually a 2. There we go. And we'll make the cube geometry a 10. Right? So it's kind of big, much bigger. Let's see if it's 10. So 5 times as big. Right? Just so that way you can see it. Right? A little bit more. And let's see if I do have to bring it up probably by 5. Right? Because that's kind of halfway up. Right? And like I'm just saying, right? And let's see if I save it, what I get. I get this really big thing. Well, oh, there it is. Look, I got the cube. It's stuck over here, right? Oh, that's not good. Let's go back into this. Hold on a second. Oh, I know why. Because this isn't changed, right? This isn't changed up at all. I maybe should make this 10 too, right? So let's make this 10. So it's going to come at me and go away from me really fast. Oops. So I'll save. What's that? I could, but I don't want to. I want to see what happens with the camera, right? Let's see what happens. So go back, and then you can see this, and then look, see, there it is. Right? If I want to make maybe I should make this big cube a little bit smaller, right? So I'm going to go back to this. Instead of making it 10, we'll make it 8. And just to make it the same, here's 888s, let's say. I'm playing around with the numbers, and let's make this 4, just to make it so it's the same. Save, and let's see what it looks like now, right? So here it is, right? As my cube is up. So my cube, think about almost like my my main cube, the planet, if you will, right? When it rotates, the little cube's whole world is rotating, right? That's what I want you to think about. So the little cube isn't moving relative to its own world space, its local space, the local geometry. The little cube is not moving. All right, let's add a rotation. I want the little cube, and I want to go back here. I'm going to share my code with you. I'm going to pump this out to GitHub for a second. And the next test I want you to do is I want you to rotate, right, or move the little cube, right, around its center. I want you to rotate it around its center, right, across the y-axis, right, across the y-axis. I want you to rotate the little cube around the y-axis, right? So as it's moving this way, it's also moving this way, right? Let's see if you guys can do that. So I want you to rotate the little cube around its y-axis. So I want you to think about its focal point, or the center of its rotation, as the 0, 0, 0 point in its local geometry. Okay? I want you to see if you can do that. I'm going to go back. First of all, I made some changes here, and I'm going to go back to Visual Studio Code. I've got these little changes. Notice I'm not changing this. I'm keeping this up. This is my gulp working. My gulp automation is transpiling automatically every time I save. Right? But I want to, while this is going, without stopping my plan here, I'm going to go here into my Git, and I'm going to use Git that's built into Visual Studio, and press this button, stage everything. And now I'm going to pump this out to Azure. I'm going to say, added child cube object, right? And then press this little checkbox, go here, and click push. And now it's going to push this out at the same time without shutting down my server. Okay? So now if you look on GitHub, if I go to GitHub, right, for my little object, so here's GitHub. If I go to Centennial College, and if I go to lesson 5, which is right here, you should see my update. My update in my scripts, if I want to look at my core script under game.ts, right? If you look down here, is this new child object, right? This child cube object right here, right? With the right geometry and the right space. There it is, 222.888. I want you, so this is what I want you to do. I want you to rotate this thing, and the changes that have to be made, by the way, have to be made on inside my game loop, just FYI. This is where my rotation is going to happen, right in here, in my game loop. And I want you to do the same thing. I want you to change the control rotation speed. I want you to use my control rotation speed to rotate the child cube around its center, all right? So think about, not its center, the center of its game world. How do I do that? How do I choose a rotation point for an object or a pivot point? I want to rotate it around something else. How do I create that math? It's a challenge for those people who are out there who know their 3D space, right? Let's see if they can do it. I'm going to go back to concept board and wait for some answers. So here's my concept board. I'm going to kind of go out here, and let's see if I can clear this up a little bit. I'm just going to. What's that? Yes. This one. Left side. Here. This one. If I do this, is this it? Is this the answer? That's going to rotate like this. The cube, the little object. No, not this. It's going to rotate just like this. I don't want that. I want it to rotate across another axis. Instead of it's rotating around the x or the y like this, its own y, I want it to rotate this way around the middle of its game world. Right? Think about that. What I'm saying. So here's my object, and this thing is going like this, right? But inside of its own plane, it's sitting. Here's the center. I want you from its own plane. Forget this other object. I just want you to do this around its own plane. So there's nothing in the middle. It's just all you have is a child cube, and you're rotating itself across another axis, across its x-axis. Make it go across its own x-axis. But I don't want you to do this, a little rotation, right? I want you to do this around its x-axis, using the center of its world as its pivot. Right? Try it, and let me see if I get the code. Right? This isn't the solution. Virus code. Oh yeah, I see the virus code. Let's get rid of some of this stuff. Just cause. Okay. Or these guys are fooling around. So this is gone. Nothing there. I'm gonna start cleaning this up, guys, because there's some empty stuff here. I'm just gonna get rid of it. Some of these arrows. If you haven't donated anything, I'm just gonna get rid of some of your stuff here. Just why you do this, Tom? Why you do this? I do this because I want you guys to use your own code to learn, to try it out instead of me telling you all the time. That's why, right? Because it's easy for me to tell you. It's harder for you when you do it on a test, and you're also going to ask somebody else anyway, right? That's not really the answer right now, so I'm looking for that answer. I'll leave random person up here because random person didn't really violate the rules, right? So let's talk about the rules. Rules are, please don't draw. That's okay. I'll leave the moon cube. I like that. Moon cube is equal to a new mesh, but that's not the answer. I'm looking for an answer in my game loop. Oh, we got some drawings over here, right? And let's see here. I'm fighting with it. It's almost like anyone ever read The Rhythmatist? It reminds me of that, right? I have to get rid of all the squiggles, right, before they kill me. All right, let's try this out here. Oh, someone's drawing something. There we go. Let's see if they've got this stuff going on. Child cube rotation is just control dot rotation speed. That's just itself. That's just doing this. That's not actually rotating around the center of the world, right? So that's not the answer. This one here, this little box over here, that's not the answer. Nice idea, but it's not what I'm looking for. I'm gonna move this aside too. And that's just a geometry. Tom, why you do this? I like that. Tom, why you do this? And I'll move this aside because that's not what I'm looking for. This one's empty. Get rid of that. And the H, that's good. I like the H, but that's not really what I'm looking for. These X's, right? And I'll put something near my COMP392, please, whoever wants to do it, and then hopefully I can look at it. I'll give you another minute or so, and then I'll do it myself. So let's see who's going to come up with something. Let's see the brightest and best of y'all. Well, come on, guys. What am I really asking to do? Okay, what if, here's the question, for those people who don't understand what I'm saying. What if I go back to this, see where this cube is rotating around itself. What if I want this whole cube to move in an arc, right? In a circular fashion, rotate around a center, right? This cube. Like, for example, the sun that I'm asking you to rotate, right? I'd have to have some kind of, there's a couple of approaches here, by the way. Here's one approach. What if I had an empty object? Can I create an empty object? What if I rotate an empty object and I parent my child cube, right, to the empty object, and parent my empty object, right, to my big cube? Can I do that? That's the easiest way, right? My empty object could be used to parent, right? So let's see if someone comes up with that code. First of all, come up with the empty object, right? And someone please paste the code right here. I've just given you the solution. That's one solution. There's other more difficult solutions. One of the most difficult solutions is saying, I want to rotate across the y-axis, but I want to point to a certain object as my center, right? I want to use something else as my center, right? Steps. Here, oh, someone wrote the steps. Thank you. Create a separate game object, tie it to the original position, create a new moon object, tie the moon object to the empty object. I could do that. That's the steps. That's nice, John. Whoever John is in this particular case, if it's really John, right? We've got a couple people putting it in. Anyone else? How about big shooters over here in the corner? The guys who are concentrating on other things like COMP392, right? Any other shooters got any solutions for me? Come on. How about the guys in the other corner, the other shooters in the corner that are being quiet, like Douglas, right? Any solutions, Douglas? All right. I'll be the shooter then, I guess. Here we go. I'm not gonna hold you ransom too much longer because it's at the end of the class. Okay, so I need to create an empty object. So I'm going to call this my var. If I make an empty object, so here's my empty object, do I have to make it a mesh? It doesn't have any geometry, right? Can I make it so that my empty object is of type object 3D, right? The answer is yes, right? So I need to instantiate this object so it exists in the game world in order for me to add something to it. So instead of, and notice how I've got my my cube object, here's my cube. So between these child cubes and my empty cube, let's do that. So I'm going to say my empty object, right? Empty object is equal to a new object 3D, right? Do I need to put anything on my object 3D? Look, it's just a container object, right? That's all I have, right? So there it is, okay? So I don't need anything. It's just an empty game object, AKA, or if you remember, anyone who's doing Unity with me before, or even Blender, it's just an empty object, right? So now my empty object can be used as a pivot for my child cube, right? But I need to parent this empty object to my, or make this empty object the child of my cube object. So I'm going to do that by saying this, cube.add empty object, right? Which makes my empty object start rotating everything. Now I need to just define some of the similar things. For example, my position still has to be like 10, 0, 0 if I want it to be at the same space that I want my other object to rotate around, right? That's for sure, right? I need to be able to do that, 10, 0, 0. If I wanted my actual empty object to be outside of that, but I don't. I want my empty object center to be the cube center, right? Because that's what I want my child to rotate around, okay? So now, let's make that, leave it as is, 0, 0, 0, okay? Now, I want to leave this the way it is, my child object, right? So it's 10, 0, 0. And I want to, instead of my cube add child cube, I want to say my empty object dot add child cube. Now, is this enough to do the same thing that I've already done? Is this going to change anything? First thing I do is try and keep it the same, right? So I go here, console.log, and just as a console log so we can track it. I'll add an empty cube object, or empty object, right, to the cube object. That's what I'm doing, right? That's all I'm doing as a child object. So it's going to rotate at the same speed as the cube right now because it's basically parented to it, right? That's the first thing. Now my child object is being added to the empty object as a child. So my cube, my child object is a child of my empty object, and my empty object is a child of my cube object, right? That's parent-child relationships that we're talking about here, right? Okay, cool. And if I do this and I save, theoretically, without checking anything, if I go back to here, right, to my thing, I should have the exact same effect. No difference, right? Because all I'm doing is the same thing. Now, I want my cube, my empty object, to start rotating itself. I'm rotating my whole empty object, right, around its x-axis, all right? And let's do that inside my game loop. All right, so I'm going to go back to my game loop, right? And then here's my cube rotation y. I'm just going to copy this line here. And I'm going to say, instead of cube, I'm going to go empty object, right? Dot rotation dot x is plus equal to my control. And now let's see what I got, right? When it comes to my actual thing itself, right? So far, nothing, right? There's nothing that's happening. Why? Wait, that's not what I wanted. It's neat. What? I don't understand. If it's doing this thing, it's rotating. How come? All right, so I don't do a rotation, right? I'm changing my position, but no, hold on a second. I've got my empty object, and it's rotating around its x-axis, so it's doing one of these, right? It's doing one of these all the time. So that's what it should. This thing is following, my cube is following my empty object, but it's staying in place. How come it's not doing this? Okay, so what should I do? Tell me the code to type. Here? Go ahead. Empty object here, okay. Dot position dot x, yeah. It's plus equals. Yeah. Well, let's do this. What about if I did my y at the same time? So if I did my y, all it's going to rotate is in itself, right? That's all it's going to do. But I want my empty object to rotate itself, right? And I want it to rotate. If I offset it just a little bit, let's see what happens if I offset this thing. So instead of my empty object starting in the center, if I offset it here, right? So if I go empty object, as an example, dot position dot set, and I want to set my position to x is 0, x is 5, let's say, 0, 0, right? That's what I'm saying. So I'm setting up my x, y, and z positions of my empty object, and now it's going to be offset. Let's see what that does, right? From a cube perspective. Well, there it is. It's way out here, and now it's just pushed it out. So it's just all of this is my empty object is just over here. So that's not really it. And let's just change it the other way around really quickly, and then I'll let you go for the day so you guys can figure this problem out. So here's 0, and I want to go, so undo, undo, undo. Let's make this 0, and let's change this on the axis, on the y-axis here, right? And then let's try that. So it's up here, all right? So that's kind of rotating as a halo. That's not really what I want. I could, yeah, I could. Right, tell me, where should I do? So I should change my child key position somewhere else. Okay, let's try that. So let's go back here and go this. We'll move this to 0, 0, 0. Right, is that what you're saying? And then change my child key position, right, even further out. Oh, 10, 10, 10, 0, 0. So like that, like you're talking like this. That's just going to push everything out. It's just gonna do this. You can't see it anymore. Let's see, it's over here, and then it's gone, right? Okay, so let's do that. So change my child position object to 222, just because I want to follow your instructions. All right, and now let's see what I got. Right? Almost. Anyways, as you can see, did I do the wrong thing? Hold on. No, I did the wrong thing. I did the wrong thing. No, I did the right thing. The problems that we're going to have these problems where I'm going to set it up. What's the best way to check this out if I was going to really do this? So I'm trying to do this in my head. I'm trying to code. What's the next other idea? Do it in Blender, right? Because Blender you see the visualization, and you can set up that rotation. And I'll leave this for you for next day. Remember that next week we're not getting together, unfortunately. It is, or fortunately, if you like looking at it that way. It's our break, and we'll begin back the week after. That'll be week 6, and week 6 is when your assignment 2 is due, right? At Friday by midnight. Now I'm still going to review stuff when I get with you the next time we get together, and I want to check to see where you're at. So please, I know a lot of you haven't started your assignment 2. Please start at least. So by the next time we get together, I want to take a look at what you got. Yes, before I go. Is this something related to this or something else? Okay, yes, tell me. Concept board, yep. Is that your code right here? I see what you've done. That'll do. It's a little bit long. You can do this easier. There's an easier way. There's an easier way to do this. All right, I'll let you guys go and see you back, not next week, but the week after.